Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Uxbridge Fire Museum grand opening. Seems to be a great turnout. I hope you enjoy.
I want to welcome you all to our grand opening today. I'm organized by Corp. We are a non-profit corporation, and we are all volunteers, all funded by private and public donations. And we thank all of you that have made donations and will continue to do so. Thank you. Blackstone Valley Chorus, under the direction of Diane Collins, sings our national anthem. so much, Diane. Thank you, the entire group, all of us. Just great. Thank you for that. Very nice. At this point, I would like to call for a moment of silence in honor of the two of our directors that have since passed since the creation of this corporation. And they are Jack Tweed and Peter Remmer. Jack Tweed was the original founder of this museum back in September of 2005. And Peter Remmer was one of the original founding members. So I'd like to ask you to bow your heads and have a moment of silence for both of those individuals. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I'd like to also invite you to sit if you prefer, but I'd like to introduce Julie Tweed, who is here. Jack couldn't be, and his family is here. Thank you so much for coming up, and they are right in the front right here, so let's have a big round of applause. I spoke to Bob Emmerich yesterday, a couple of times actually, and let her know what we'd be doing today. Unfortunately, she's on vacation. She has stated to me that maybe her son, Ben, Ben or Sam would be here. I have not seen them. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And I know Peter's brother is here, Tommy. And thank you so much for coming. I know how much it's meant to Peter. We really appreciate that. Let's have a nice round. Roy, I think at this time, protocol would call for that we ring the bell for Jack and for Peter. And in addition, we ring it for all the fallen firefighters who've gone before us. So please ring the bell for us, Roy. Time, I'd like to introduce Pastor Bob Howard, who will be giving our opening prayer and our station blessing. He is the pastor of the Valley Chapel and also serves as the chaplain for our Uxbridge Fire Department.
You have chairs, you may be seated. Before I pray, just I want to share a couple of memories with you. One is a very recent memory. My wife and I were at home Tuesday night, this week, and my fire department pager went off, and the fire department was being called to a house. And my wife happened to be in the kitchen, and she heard the address. It was 55 High Street, which is where my daughter and her family live. And so the fire department made their way there, and my wife and I made our way there. I'm thankful for the fire department's constant reminders that we keep smoke alarms and that we know that they work properly. My daughter's family, she and her husband, 4 children, were just on their way to bed. If they had gone to bed without that smoke alarm going off, I think the story would have ended very differently. But it went off. They looked in the basement, saw the smoke, called the fire department. Again, as in every time that I am with them, the fire department worked seamlessly with the greatest professionalism, due diligence, and making sure that everywhere was checked. This was my daughter has her house is a 150-year-old farmhouse. It's only a crawl space underneath. And they crawled under there, checked everything. Unfortunately for her, they had to cut her kitchen floor out, but that's another story. But everybody was safe. They were so kind and communicated so well, the fire department did. And so I just, again, am so thankful for the men and women who serve today and who have served in a long history here in our town. When I first came on the department, Chief Ostrowski was my chief. It was after the Burnett Mill fire, and he had called to ask me to do a service, a memorial service at the firefighter monument. And I just had one question for him. I said, Chief Ostrowski, I said, what does it take to be a fire chaplain? His answer was, if you want the job, it's yours. That was over 15 years ago. And I'm still privileged to serve this great community of Uxbridge in our fire department. And he's going to share in a little while. You are going to love listening to Chief Ostrowski, because he speaks about 1/3 of the time that I preach. So you'll enjoy that very much. When I first came on the department, he gave me a prayer. It's called the Firefighter's Prayer. I want to begin with that and then pray the dedication of this museum. When I am called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save some life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it is too late, or save an older person from a most uncertain fate. Enable me to be alert and hear the weakest shout, and quickly and efficiently to put the fire out. And if, according to my fate, my days should come to end, please bless with your protecting hand my family and my friends. Father God, we have gathered on this very special occasion to dedicate this fire museum. Not only, Father, to the apparatus that has served our town down through many decades, but for the men and women who have served our town, who have given of themselves selflessly. The men and women who rush into burning buildings when the rest of us rush away. And so we thank you that we can preserve and honor their memory and the history of firefighting here in the town of Uxbridge. We are so grateful and thankful today for the association that again has worked tirelessly. We're thankful for those who have sacrificed and made donations to bring all this and make it a reality for us. We thank you, Father, for all of our town fathers who have come today to support this dedication. And again, just signifies how they value this, Father, and all that has taken place through our fire department. So we thank you for them. We thank you for all the first responders who serve so faithfully here in Uxbridge. And we ask these things in the name of God our Father. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Bob. Your comments were so appropriate, and we appreciate them very much. Thank you. There's one person amongst us that I really need to give special recognition to. And he's sitting in the front row. And probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him probably. His name is Kevin Meehan. He's the owner of Imperial Cars. And he is the one, the only one, that financed this entire operation. Kevin, as a friend, as a president of this association, I got to really thank you. I don't know where we'd be without you. Thank you very much. There's one other person amongst us that deserves special recognition. Although he doesn't seek it, he's a very private person, very quiet, but he certainly deserves it, is Dave Martin. This beautiful 1937 Maxim truck, which looks like a 2024 truck, was all restored by Dave Martin. So we need to give him a real round of applause because this station and this truck belong together. So thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate it very much. It's been often said that great things happen when you surround yourself with great people. How true that is. I can personally attest to that, and I want to recognize those great people. They're right on this plaque that will be suitably demonstrated within our building, Julie, right next to Jack's picture, where it belongs. So let me just acknowledge the folks here that have put the work together with Kevin to make sure that this happened. And it reads, the North Uxbridge Fire Museum, Inc., with many thanks to Kevin Meehan for his generosity, 2024. I would ask that the officers, the directors, and the managers just raise their hand when they're recognized, and then we'll have a big round of applause for all of them. We have our Vice President, the Deputy Fire Chief, Stephen Tankro. The Tankro family owned this building for many, 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 many years. And Steve, so nice to have you as part of it. We have our treasurer who's out chasing tornadoes out Midwest that couldn't be here. That's former Fire Chief Bill Kessler. But he is here in spirit, that's for sure. We have our secretary, who is our former police chief, Scott Freitas. I know, Scott, you're out there someplace. Thank you, Scott. These are your officers, and now I want to read your directors. Your directors are, and he's on vacation, our current fire chief, Tom Dyan, so he'll be back at some point. Obviously, Peter Emmerich. Peter Emmerich was part of this. I can remember the conversation I had with him when I called him, when we put this together. He was so excited. He was to be the vice president. Well, he's vice president with God up there, and he's doing a pretty good job, I'm sure, watching over us. We got Ty Fayad. Ty, he is just a fantastic young man that is really doing a good job, and we appreciate that. Thank you for joining us, Ty. We have Richard Johnson, Sr., and Dick's been a friend of the fire department for 500 years or so, Dick? Not that I want to admit your age, but good friend Dick Johnson. We have Rob Knappich. Rob Knappich, right from the very beginning, when Kevin approached us and said, here's what I'd like to do, and Rob did all the yeoman's legal work at that time. So wherever you are, Rob, let's thank you so much for all the work you did. We've got Eli Lavadier. Eli Lavadier, the owner of B&O Pools right down the street. He said, whatever I can do. He said, if you need a park, we've got additional parking. He says, I really enjoy what you're doing and I want to be part of your group. He's also with us. And of course, I wasn't going to let Kevin Meehan get away. I said, Kevin, you know, we really would love to have you as a director here because you bring so much to the table. And he acknowledged and said, fine, I'd be happy to join you. So Kevin, thank you again so much. And then we have Jack Tweed. Well, I remember back September 2005 when Roy Henry approached me and said, can you talk to Jack Tweed? And I was very close with Jack at that time. And I said, we'd like to put a museum in the boiler room. They're still standing right now. And Benny Emmerich and Peter Emmerich and Roy and a few others said, well, we need to be able to paint in there because, in fact, it's a little warmer. Well, it wasn't as warm as they needed to dry the paint, but that was the whole start of it. And that's where this all started, way back, September 2005. Again, thank you, Julie, and thank you, Jack, for making that happen. We also have John Wise. John Wise is the Vice Chairman of the Board of Selectmen here. John Wise is also the one of the directors here. And John, I know you helped an awful lot initially putting this all together with us. Thank you very much for all your work, and thanks for joining us. Now we got the managers. And these guys are the day-to-day guys. They do all the work. They keep telling us what we got to do and making sure we do it and getting the phone calls and getting the list. And I'd say, keep them coming. And I want to recognize James Ahern. Where's Jim? There's Jim. Okay. Thank you, Jim. I want to recognize Bill Martin. Where's Bill?
Right here.
Oh, Bill. You're doing the stuff that we're going to do. And we need to recognize Dave Martin, obviously, as Dave is, there you go with that truck. Can't say enough about it. And last but not certainly least, Roy Henry is a fixture in this town. When it comes to veterancy, when it comes to firefighting, when it comes to history, there is nobody in this town that I've met, and I've been here for a little while, that has impressed me more with the sincerity, the dedication, the commitment, the loyalty. I'm going to run out of adjectives, but I can tell you honestly, Roy Henry is the reason why we do what we do. Let's give it up for Roy Henry. Okay. Well, you've heard enough from me. At this time, I'd like to introduce our town manager, Steve Setti. And Steve, please come on. Another great guy in the community.
Good afternoon. I just have a couple of quick remarks because I know everybody's wanting to get on with the rest of their afternoon as well. So first of all, thank you for asking me to be here today to share in this reopening of the Uxbridge Fire Museum. The museum's a tribute to all the firefighters who proudly served the town of Uxbridge and a reminder of how the history of the department and how it's got to where it is today as one of the premier departments, not only in the Blackstone Valley, but in all of central Massachusetts. I look forward, as do all the residents of the town of Uxbridge, to the new memories of the fire service of the town that are yet to be memorialized in here. And if you haven't had a chance to go inside, it is a great opportunity to see how far we've come as a fire service, but also as a fire department. I want to thank all the members of the museum board for making this happen, to the long-standing managers of the museum that were in the old location and are here again, And special thanks to Mr. Kevin Mead for making sure that this museum always has one. And everyone else, thank you for being here today. And I'm sure the rest of the program is going to be very informative as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
Thanks again, Steve. I'd also like to recognize Select Board Member, Vice Chairman, John Wise, and also one of our directors as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see you all here. About 3 years ago, I got a phone call from Kevin Mead. Probably Dick and Harry, I think you gave him my number. And he reached out and he wanted to have a meeting. We set up a meeting with the town manager just a few days later, and you presented your ideas. We loved them. Fast forward about 6 months, I remember standing in the lobby of the Uxbridge Town Hall, and an individual said to me, "You will never save that building." That moment, I knew this building was going to be saved. You never had 6 words that meant so much and motivated us to do so. So, Kevin, we know you did all the financing. It was your idea from the get-go. I can't thank you enough. So that being said, the Board of Selectmen have a proclamation. North Uxbridge, let me put my glasses on. I am a little over 50. I just realized my vision's going. So, so the North Uxbridge Fire Museum, Inc. Proclamation. Whereas the Uxbridge Select Board recognizes the historical significance of saving the North Uxbridge Fire Station at no burden to the taxpayers. And whereas the restored North Uxbridge Fire Station will be the home of the Uxbridge Fire Museum. And whereas the Uxbridge Select Board commends the collaboration of the Town Manager, Select Board, and the Uxbridge taxpayers with the North Uxbridge Fire Museum, Inc. Board of Directors. And whereas, where is he, Roy? Right behind me, Roy Henry's dedication as the originator and historian of the Fire Museum. And whereas Bill Martin's years of dedication to the museum and his family's involvement of saving and restoring Engine 1. And whereas Harry Ramasco, as president of the Board of Directors, and his leadership of putting the board together, purchasing of the property, and restoration of the building. And whereas appreciation to the North Uxbridge Fire Museum Board of Directors for volunteering for this important role in preserving Uxbridge history. And whereas recognition of Kevin Meehan and his generous donations for the restoration of the building, moving the museum, and operational expenses. Now, therefore, the Uxbridge Select Board proclaims that June 22nd, 2024 is the grand opening of the North Uxbridge Fire Museum. All residents are urged to visit the North Uxbridge Fire Museum to view all the artifacts and memorabilia, see the restored historical North Uxbridge Fire Station building, and learn about the history of Uxbridge Fire from our local historians. Signed on the 22nd day of June 2024. This is the Uxbridge Select Board, Chairman Jeffrey Shaw, Vice Chair John Wise, Clerk Brian Plaskow, Peter Demers, and Stephen Mandelli. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, John. Next, I want to introduce the good friend, Mike Soda and Joe McKenna, our state reps. They are here to say a few words and present a proclamation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with Representative McKenna, who you know, both Joe and I represent Uxbridge, and you, I'll just say it, you have two of the best reps up in the State House. You're two for the price of one. You know, when I first ran and beginning to run for the seat, I met Harry, and one of the things he said to me was that, you know, in your tenure, probably we're going to make a lot of history here in Uxbridge. I didn't know what he meant, but over my tenure so far, Uxbridge has really put a stamp on history with so many different things that are part of the community. And this behind me is one of them. And Harry, I finally figured out what I meant, so I got probably a few more years to go, so I'm sure there's a lot more we're going to do in Uxbridge together. I want to thank, obviously, the Emmerich family, the Tweed family. Without your vision and your passion, your family's vision and passion, this vision couldn't have happened, right? And that is very, very important. What can I say about Kevin? Kevin is an amazing businessman, part of this community. The one thing I will say is that anywhere that he invests in communities, he takes part of that community, he's involved in that community, and that's what private-public partnership is all about. Kevin, thank you so much for being the person you are and giving back to the communities that welcome you and as a businessman, but also as a neighbor to this community. And obviously, the select board and your town manager, you know, it takes the select board and the town manager to look at a building, and you know, I know always the first instincts are to, what do we do with this? Do we take it down? How do we do it? But you know, it takes a lot of tenacity, it takes a lot of fight sometimes to do the right thing. And when you actually do it and you actually bring the private sector in, it's amazing what you can accomplish, and there's going to be so much history. Before we make the presentation, I'll just let Joe speak, and then we'll make the presentation of the resolution.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here to open this wonderful facility. And I want to say two things. One is, I often get asked as a rep, what is your favorite part of the job? Going to Boston, being part of the legislature. And to me, the best part of the job, the most rewarding and oftentimes the most important, is being part of the community, being able to recognize individuals, organizations, businesses, accomplishments locally that make our communities the great places that they are. And that's what we're doing today. It's a truly celebratory occasion that deserves all of the recognition that we bring from the State House. And the other thing that strikes me often in my travels around the district and around the state, people will often say, oh, thank you, Rep, thank you for your service. And I chuckle a little, I say, thank you very much. But the hardest thing I go through day to day is a little bit of political backlash, a little politics here and there. But when I think about our veterans, our paramedics and EMS responders, our police officers, and absolutely our firefighters, those are our true public servants. Those are the people who may not make it home from a day of work. Their challenges are true challenges and true sacrifices. They're our true public servants. So while we recognize the museum and the apparatus and the equipment, this is truly a dedication to those men and women who've given their careers of sacrifice to the community. And every man and woman who has served on the Uxbridge Fire Department has a place of remembrance in this museum. And that's a great thing. And it's a great show of pride that the community of Uxbridge has in its history and its people. So I'm honored to be here to play a small part. Thank you.
So Joe and I wanted to do something very special for the opening. Massachusetts House of Representatives resolution commemorating the grand opening of the Uxbridge Fire Museum. Whereas the Uxbridge Fire Museum will open on June 22nd with June 23rd as a rain date, and reintroduce to the community a plethora of artifacts signifying the history of the Uxbridge Fire Department. And whereas the Uxbridge Fire Museum served as a fire station in North Uxbridge for 108 years. Whereas previously known as Station 2, the Uxbridge Fire Museum is a public charity that will hold visiting hours Monday through Saturday to educate the people and the town to promote appreciation for the work and bravery of the Uxbridge Fire Department. And
whereas the building dedicated to the remembrance and display of Uxbridge history are crucial to the community, to the continuity of the identity and values within the community. And whereas the Uxbridge Fire Museum will exemplify the aforementioned purpose, acting as a center for community building and exhibition of the Uxbridge Fire Department's numerous phases. Therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Massachusetts House of Representatives hereby congratulate the town of Uxbridge on the opening of the Uxbridge Fire Museum and wish for its success and appreciation amongst its residents and visitors. And be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives to Harry A. Ramasco, President of the Uxbridge Fire Museum, and this is signed by the Speaker of the House, by Representative Soder, and by myself.
Next, I'd like to introduce Amanda Hillier. I spoke with Senator Fatman yesterday. He is committed today at one of his daughter's dance competitions, but he said, I definitely want my district director to be here. So Amanda, if you would come forth, please.
Thank you, Harry. On behalf of Senator Fatman, I am so happy to be here today. I will be brief because my 2-year-old son is also here and he is very eager to get inside. It is incredible to see such a showing here today, and it just speaks to Uxbridge as a community. You should be so proud of yourselves and grateful to be here, because I'm exceptionally impressed and feeling lucky to be here as well. So to Harry and the Emmerichs and Kevin and everyone who had a hand in this, be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to North Uxbridge Fire Museum Incorporated in recognition of the auspicious occasion of the grand opening of your museum. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy therefore transmitted by the clerk. Signed by your Senate President, Karen E. Spilka, attested to by your clerk, Michael D. Hurley, and offered by your state Senator, Ryan C. Fatman. Congratulations.
Okay. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who I don't believe needs an introduction, but he certainly has earned the introduction. And that's our keynote speaker, Peter Ostrowski. Peter is a retired Uxbridge fire chief that did such a splendid job in this community that he earned the opportunity to become the state fire marshal. There's only one state fire marshal. And we're so proud to say he came from Uxbridge. Peter, my friend, fellow I've done some work with as a former selectman, and I appreciate so much. Let's give it up for Peter Ostrowski.
Thanks, Harry. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a prime spot in any speaking program to back cleanup behind Pastor Bob, our legislative delegation, the Board of Selectmen, and Harry. Now, if you see any or hear any familiar notes in this, it's because I stole all their notes before this, and I pilfered from all of that. So, thank you very much. It is an honor for me to be able to speak on behalf of Uxbridge firefighters, past and present, as we mark this very special occasion. Since Uxbridge was established as a town, we have a rich history of development and progress. As a community, we are known for contributions to Worcester County, the Commonwealth, and our nation. Uxbridge was front and center along the Blackstone Canal during the Industrial Revolution, known for Uxbridge Blue, produced in our mills for military uniforms, and so much more, including our nation's fire service. Today's celebration of the museum, opening here at the North End Station, is another example of support in Uxbridge. The repurpose of the station for this museum is another recognition of the efforts of community members who step up, who step forward, who respond in a time of need for the betterment of our citizens. Two independent fire companies, Walk and Tuck number 1 in Wheelocksville, you'll have to check the old maps to figure out where that was, and Union number 2, which was located at the corner of Douglas Street and Kearney Street, in the area where Charlie's store was, assembled and provided service for many years. Prominent family names like Whiten, Capron, Wheelock, and Seagrave served as fire wards, and citizens from across town dropped everything to respond when there was a time of need. As the town grew, a municipal fire department was needed, and in 1898, under Chief Edward Parker, the first appropriation of $500 was made. Interestingly enough, when I was appointed fire chief and Harry was on the Board of Selectmen, I think that was my budget. Well, Harry, likes to keep close to the history of the community. In 1903, this station was built, with the headquarters at 25 South Main Street to follow in 1928. Of note, motorized apparatus was garaged on Depot Street, Kevin, beginning in 1922. And it was, the drivers came from Worcester Suburban Electric Company. So you get an idea of the importance to the community of the fire service and how everybody contributed. That location was the original location of the Uxbridge Fire Museum, as we know. In 1940, the Seagrave apparatus that was purchased for this station arrived, and you do note the name of the company, Seagrave, is an Uxbridge name. The Seagraves are prominent community members, have been for generations, and the Seagrave Company, which was headquartered in Columbus, Ohio, still exists today and produce modern fire apparatus to this day. And that 1940 Seagrave arrived and was garaged, and frontline service spent its career out of this firehouse. I know you'd like me to go on and on and on with the history of the Uxbridge Fire Department, but I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story, because I know that it's better told by the staff and the great people who operate here at the museum. So let's fast forward to today. As you can see, the pipes and drums, our Blackstone Valley Chorus, our chaplain, our community leaders. The fire service is strong in tradition, as well as making sure that we progress. The traditions live on. As you can tell by the name Tankrel, there's some photographs that are in the history book and here in the station, and a lot of great stories about the Tankrels being the entire crew of North Uxbridge. I think Joe Brannigan was the only non-Tankrel. I don't know how he slipped in there, but for the longest time, this station was served by the Tankrel family solely. And it's an honor and a privilege to have served with Steve Tankrel, who continues that lineage. And so those traditions and those honored parts of the fire service continue as modern history is made today. Modern history, when we look at the contributions of people like the Emmerichs, the Martins, the Bangmas, who continue to make history today, and so many other names who are serving today and continue to serve our community like our forefathers did. We are fortunate to have this museum in its new home to honor the most vital of our community resources, the people, the firefighters. Thanks to the vision of Roy Henry, Billy Martin, Jack Tweed, Peter Emmerich, and others, and other founders, we have this place to capture the history, traditions, and memories of those who have given so much. Men and women who literally drop everything to help others in their time of need. I can't help but say that phrase and think back to being a kid and seeing Joe Paquette run out of his gas station on the corner over here to grab engine 2 to respond. Or Alfie Jakes, who was a fire alarm clerk, but was also a local painter and hung wallpaper in houses across town, his little step van rolling up. Alfie was captain of Engine 2 for the longest time when I started with the fire department, and so many others who gave service in that same way. I like to refer to them as the butchers, the bakers, and the candlestick makers who dropped everything to respond when their community was in need. And that tradition continues as well. Through the generosity of people like Kevin Meehan, we now have this living tribute to the sacrifice and service put forward by our firefighters and their families. Thank you, Uxbridge, for your continuous support of your fire department and the support of our very special fire museum, now located here at the North End Station, that will serve as an opportunity for us to know where we've come from and also to chart what's going on as we continue to progress. Thank you, Harry, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, I'll go to my concluding remarks. We have a limited supply of these shirts here. You can see it's right on display here. We're asking $20. We don't have many. We'd be happy to take orders and fill them by the end of the week. We'll be happy to take your orders, see Bill or see Roy, and we'll get that done. I'd like to introduce someone that hasn't been introduced. This is our little fella Blaze right here. Blaze is holding a bucket for donations. Blaze is a very special person to me, because my brother Michael Ramasco from Ramasco Creations designed him and donated him to the museum. I think he's responsible for getting more donations to this museum, other than you, Kevin. So
your nephew's in charge of the money.
Right. That's a good point. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate that. And there's one person, too, I want to acknowledge here. It's not very often that you have a fire chief serve. And I want to go over there and make sure I'm going to quote it exactly. From 1917 to 1963, he was the fire chief. I remember him very well. He was the postmaster over here. I grew up one block behind here, and the Tankwell Meat Market was right there. So the Tankwells would leave their meat market, come over here. Wilfred Tankwell would leave the post office, come over here. Alfie Jakes lived on Elm Street, right behind me. He would come over here, and Joe would close the station, and he was over here. Not to add to the story, but I just had to throw that in. That's the history of why we all do what we do. So I want to thank everybody, encourage you all, be generous. This is all operated by all volunteers and all donations, and we can't thank you enough for that. Because it's our community, we're all a part of it. Let's continue to do that. Next, I would like to ask all the officers, and I forgot, I want to acknowledge Jack Annabali. Jack Annabali is Wilfred Tankwell's grandson, who actually donated this to the museum. Jack, my friend, thank you. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is invite all the officers, all the directors, the managers, the speakers, and anybody from the fire department that would like to be part of this photo. We'll remove this stuff, we'll fan out all across here. This is your day, and we want you to be recognized. So, and we'll take a photo here, and then we're gonna have the ribbon cut. And the two people that I can honestly think that have to cut this ribbon is Kevin Meehan and Roy Henry. You know what I did? I brought a pair of scissors that I think they both can handle. And they are pretty sharp, believe it or not. So we're gonna have the photo op, so all those that I've just acknowledged, the directors, the officers, the managers, the speakers, and firefighters that would like to be part of this picture, please come on up. And Kevin and Roy, you're gonna cut the ribbon.
Yeah, being almost as tall as I am, but me too.
We're gonna have to go behind the scenes for this.
Yeah.
Go. You can only do this
Let it
once.
go. Hey! Yeah, there you go. All right, we're open for refreshments. There's plenty of water, refreshments. Go in, enjoy the museum. It's just a beautiful.
It was nice meeting you. I'll tell you said hello.
We were probably all saying, yeah, what is it?
I want to thank everybody for coming out to Uxbridge Fire Museum's grand opening. It was an awesome turnout. So don't forget to stop by and check it out yourself. Stay safe out there, everyone.